going on? Your boy Yo Scruggs back at it, and I hope y'all can hear me because it's windy as hell out here. My official review of Nas's Magic Part Deuce. So let me start off by saying, if you saw my video I did before, right before the album came out, a few things I said briefly, just to go back. I said, one, I thought they was putting out the album too soon. Me personally, I was still digesting really all the KDs and Magic 1. I was still digesting, and I just thought it was too soon to put out a new album because I didn't think the hunger was there from the fans. I mean, it's always gonna be hunger from Nas fans to hear more from Nas. I mean, he's Nas. Like I can hear a new Nas album every week, to be honest. But that doesn't mean it's gonna feel as good or sound as good to me as it is if I got a gap in between albums where I really get, where I build up an appetite for a new album. So that was that was really my only concern, was that they was giving us another album too soon, and that I was still digesting the other albums, and I wasn't necessarily ready to, to take in more Nas music, because I was enjoying the KD 1 through 3 and Magic, the first Magic, so much that I didn't really need another album yet. I was hoping that if they did drop another album, it wouldn't be until, I don't even know if record companies still do this, but they used to do, music business used to run in quarters. You had first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and usually the big dogs, the biggest selling out, the biggest artists or whatever, usually will put out their albums in the fourth quarter. I guess now it's a little different with streaming. I'm talking about going back 10 years at least and before. And so I was hoping if they did do another album, that would be towards the end of the year, like December, or in the first quarter of next year. But they, I guess they've been working and they had more music they wanted to put out there, so we got Magic 2. Now, the first thing I'll say is, and I mentioned this before, something I always go to that I learned when I was in college. I had a class called, I can't remember if it was macroeconomics or microeconomics. I took both. But we learned about something called the law of diminishing returns. I'm sure a lot of y'all know what that is. For those that don't, just a brief example. If I'm hungry and I want to slice a pizza bad, that first slice of pizza is excellent. I'm like, man, I needed this so bad, tastes great. Second slice of pizza is still really good. Not as great as the first one, but still really good. But I'm not quite as hungry, but I'm still enjoying it. Like, man, this second slice of pizza, man, this is really what I needed. I get to that third slice of pizza, still good. I still got a bit of an appetite. All right, I can take it down. But it's definitely not hitting quite to the level of Pizza Part 1 and Pizza Part 2. Once I get to that fourth slice of pizza, yes, it's still the same slice of pizza, still the same ingredients, still cooked the same way. It's probably all from the same pie. But I'm so full now, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I can eat it, but man, it would taste a lot better if I ate it tonight for dinner, or if I ate it tomorrow, for lunch. And that's kind of where I was at with Magic 2 at this time. Now, the first thing I'll say is, pun intended, this album, as I listened to it over and over and over, it didn't have that magic that I felt KD 1 through 3 and the original Magic had. It was something so special about those albums. They all sound different, but all of them gave me a feeling inside, like, wow, I can't believe this is, I don't know if y'all had this feeling. I was like, wow, I can't believe this is Nas in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, with this new, still sounding like Nas, but a new sound, a new producer, a new point in his life. And it would just eat with each of those albums. I was like, man, this is, I mean, first of all, for me personally, Nas was the GOAT already if he would have stopped at Stillmatic back in 2001. So we talking 22 years ago. He was already the GOAT to me. If he never put out another album after that, he still would have been the GOAT. So all this right now, everything since then, really, to me, guys, hip hop is dead. The Untitled N-Word album, all the Magics, KDs, Nasir. And speaking of Nasir, when I first heard Nasir, well, before it came out, I was so hyped up for it. Maybe as hyped as I've ever been for a Nas album, because I was like, damn, Nas with Kanye production, oh, this is going to be the greatest album ever. But it didn't live up to the hype for most people. And I remember like that first month of listening to, I know we live in a microwave society now where people have that's how I don't understand how people do album reviews the week it come out, the day it come out. Like how the hell can you do an album or review that quick. Maybe a movie review, I get. Movies work a little different. Movies on that first time, you could give a good review. Music, I think, is different. Music, you got to sit with, and you got to see how it ages on. You got to see how certain, because some songs don't sound as good at first, then they get better. Some songs sound great at first, and then over time they lose steam. So the Nasir album, initially I was like, man, I can't believe Nas made an album this bad. I can't believe Nas, and on top of that, I can't believe Nas and Kanye made an album together that's this bad. Then it started making more sense when I found out that they basically made the album in like 1 week. But as time went on and I continued to listen to Nasir, unlike a lot of people who just gave up on it, period, Nasir got a lot better. It's definitely not Nas' best album, and it's definitely probably in the bottom 5 Nas albums for sure, but it's definitely a lot better than people gave it credit for. But anyway, back to Magic 2. So Magic 2, like I said, it didn't have, for me, it don't have that oof. It don't have that, but it's still good. Like even Nas and Hitboy not at their best, it's still pretty good. This album to me, I felt like it sounded to me like even with them two, like maybe it was whatever that special it that they had making them other 4 albums, it wasn't quite in this one. But both of them are so good at what they do that it's still good. Like, put it this way, if we would have got none of those other KD albums and the other Magic album, and this was just the album by itself sitting alone, I probably would enjoy it more, because it, one, like I said, it'd be more time in between Nas albums, and I wouldn't be comparing it, you know, subconsciously and consciously to the other 4 Nas albums that just came out with Hitboy. As far as the best songs, I like Pistols on Your album cover. That's probably my favorite song on there. Abracadabra was cool. I like the song with 50. So I mean, I like all the songs, but it just don't have that. It's just not as potent as the other 4 albums. It don't have quite the replay value of those other 4 albums. It don't have those standout, solidified like tracks that I play. Like every time I hear this song, I know I'm gonna play it 2 or 3 times in a row, no matter how many times I listen to this. I done listen to that song, and, you know, like done, like the intro to the first King's Disease album is probably one of my favorite songs. Not necessarily because it's necessarily one of the greatest songs out of all the songs they've done, but it's sentimental value. I feel like that first opening intro on that first King's Disease album, I feel like this is where it all started. This is where this segment of Nas' career, my life with listening to Nas, this is what set it off. That when they start off with that, hello, ladies and gentlemen, I made Fade famous, the Chain famous, QB on the Master Stainless. Like when that came out, I was like, oh, it was in the middle of like COVID, everything was shut down. It was just a feeling about it. Store Run, you know, Rare. I think Rare from KD2 may be Nas's best song ever. Like just overall topics, lyrics, delivery, beat, flow. I think it might be the best Nas song ever. Forever I used to say it was Nas's Light from the I Am album. I thought it was Nas's just best song. Maybe not even the song I listened to the most, but just his best song. So it didn't have none of those like standout tracks to me. It didn't have a 10 points, which I love off KD. I love off KD1. It didn't have a Memories like off KD2. So it didn't have those standout songs that I love and I always go back and I play over and over and over. But like I said, it's still a solid project. I still say I wish they would have waited a little bit longer so I would have more hunger for it. I think if they would have waited a little bit longer, we might even got a better project, more up to par with the other ones. If I gave all the other KDs and the other Magic, I think I gave all of them between an A+ to an A-. They were all A albums to me. This one I probably give not even a B+. I'll probably give it a solid B. Like right there is a B. I'm assuming they got another album they're gonna do. I would assume it would be Magic 3 next, because I would assume they want to finish the trilogy of each of the KD and the Magic series. And then after that, or even in between that, I think I am at a point now where I would like to hear Nas with some other producers. Like, I think the Hitboy Nas thing, don't get me wrong, I think they still got another A plus, A minus, A album minimum, and I think that might be Magic 3. But I also will admit that I've had my fill of it. Like I love what they did together, but I would like to hear Nas, do some work with. I don't need a whole premiere album. I know that's the thing everybody say. Well, we gonna get that premiere album. I don't need a whole Nas premiere album. I don't need a whole Nas with one producer album. I would like to hear Nas kind of the old school way he used to do it with multiple producers. And sure, I would love for Premiere to be one of those. I love to hear an album where Nas give us 9 songs and 3 of them is Premiere, 3 of them is Hitboy, 2 Dr. Dre's, 1 Kanye. Even get like maybe a J. Cole or Havoc beat mixed in there. So that's kind of how I would like to see it go. Again, Magic 2, good project, definitely something to listen to. Definitely something I've been listening to, will continue to listen to. But again, it just didn't reach the level of excellence that the other albums that him and Hitboy did together. But I think the feedback overall has still been positive. But I think, artists and athletes like to say they don't listen to the critics and the fans, but they listen. They on social media and they watch the same stuff we watch on social media. They read the same stuff we read on social media. So maybe them seeing that, people saying maybe they took a little step back, and motivate them to really get that magic back in the formula that they was using, and maybe Magic 3 get back to that A level. And I'm also disappointed in the fans though, because I'm not disappointed in Nas and Hitboy at all. Even though this album didn't live up to the the levels of the other one, I'm not disappointed in them at all. I feel like they gave us something, that the more music, that's good music to listen to. But I saw that the album only did about 17,000. Now I don't sales the first week. Now I know things are different now with streaming. I grew up in an era where you actually had to go out and buy the record, buy the CD, buy the tape. So I'm not exactly sure how streaming works. But for them to only do 17,000, but then I go online and I see all these people claiming to be such big Nas fans. Like, where y'all at? Or the people I'm seeing online, the only people that's Nas fans, and the few people in the streets out here I wind up talking to about it. Are we the only Nas fans out here that's still listening? My homie, he's more of a Jay-Z fan than Nas fan, but he likes Nas too, you know what I mean? And I remember he was talking to me, man. He was like, damn, Nas really made a comeback. And I was like, no, Nas never left. Nas never left us. Y'all left Nas. Like, Nas been here. He been making music. He never stopped. It's the fans that left. There's a lot of people I know that was I listened to Nas a lot back in the 90s, early 2000s, but not recently. And I'm like, he ain't fall off. You just stopped listening to him. But it pissed me off to see somebody like, and no offense to Travis Scott, that ain't my lane, that ain't my music. And I understand that Travis Scott is a younger artist. He's with a major label. They do all these bundles. So of course he's going to outsell Nas. Of course Drake is going to outsell Nas. But it shouldn't be no damn gap where somebody like Travis Scott doing 200 and Lil Uzi and them doing 200, 300,000 first week, and Nas only doing 17. That's on y'all. That's on the fans for not stepping up and showing support. Because if I'm somebody like Nas and Hitboy, and I see I done gave y'all all this good shit, and my best album out of all those only did like 45,000 the first week, and this one doing 17,000, I turn around and I be like, man, fuck y'all, kiss my ass. If I make music, it's gonna be just for me. I'm not even putting it out because the fans ain't even supporting us. That's just my little spiel on that. But leave a comment, leave a message. Let me know what you think. Magic 2. Do you think Magic 3 is coming next? Do you think it's time for, if Nas is gonna make more music, time for him to kind of go back the old school way, branch out, use multiple producers? What do you think is coming next? Your boy O Scruggs.